I wanted to make a build guide talking about my build for Second Wind. I'm running Pounce Wolves. These dogs, these dogs are broken. Um, so the whole idea for the build is to just get minion levels and melee levels on every piece of gear that you can, because this skill is an everything skill. It has everything. It is a travel, it's a Swiss Army knives of skills. It's a travel minion, melee, everything, mark. Um, it is your travel, it is your debuff, it is your minion generation. And you create dogs that go around with you, and these dogs deal a lot of damage. When you're fully buffed, oh, that's a damage of 10 wolves. Uh, I would say nearly 2 million. Um, don't worry about the summon limit 8. It's 10 with the this node up here. But expendable army. So you can start this build roughly from the middle of Act 2. You need level 7 skill gems. Let's see. The big thing here is you need Ferocious Roar. That's your rage generation. And Cross Slash. Cross Slash, you will pounce and then cross slash enemies. The cross slash consumes the mark and it will create wolves from that mark. Now, in terms of the gem links, uh, we're going to prioritize elemental damage, fizz damage on our pounce, feeding frenzy, just more damage. Bleed 4, we'll get bleed 3 from 2 or 3 different sources. But this gives a more fizz damage multiplier to the wolves, which will get multiplied later. And heft is, I'm not 100% sure on heft. This is just like, you can exchange this if you want Holy Descent. You can get Consecrated Ground when you pounce. I don't know how valuable heft is, but I would say, like, just to maximize the damage, go for it. I have tried freeze. This build does freeze, but you will not be able to freeze pinnacle bosses with these wolves just as is. This build does not use lunar assault. We're not attacking. All we do is we are placing banners. We get our rage up, and we use lunar blessing. And then occasionally, if there's a tough mob, we'll pounce on them. We do have suppressing death from above, supporting fire. This is mostly just to clear trash. It helps the dogs focus on the bigger targets. With rage, the damage isn't that great. It's mostly, this will clear white mobs in tier 15 maps though, which is what we want. We don't need it to do anything more than that. Um, in terms of the other gem links or the gear, yeah, basically you can get +7 here for your talisman. You can get +4 for your scepter, +2 for your gloves, +3. It can be either minion or melee. I would prefer minion just to increase the life of our wolfpack dogs, which I'll get to in a second. And 2 minion on the helmet. This is another optimization. If you corrupt your pounce, you can get up to level 40 because of the extra gem level from having it corrupted. And then, yeah, this is how you get your level 40 wolves. I'm not using, was it From Within or from, I forget the name of it, but there's a jewel that gives like +3 to gem level for like pounce or whatever. I'm not using that. glory generation is the hot ticket item for all of these banners, and I'll get to those in a second as well. We want, for endgame, we want controlled metamorphoses. Uh, this isn't required until super endgame. It's just a really nice point save because this node gives us probably 150% increased armor. You get another 30 here. You get armor applied to elemental. Very efficient use of the points here. This, I don't like this, but I'm using it for the moment just because it's a cheap option. When I bought this, from nothing, that's the name of this jewel. Um, this lets you place, or you basically get to allocate nodes nearby here. Um, if I was picking one specifically instead of Primal Hunger, I would actually choose this one here, Black Flame, because of the exposure effect here. You get chaos damage for the minions. This would be amazing with the life regen, which would help a lot with the survivability. This is not necessary. Um, I choose this because along this path here, you can take this path if you're not using this jewel, but we want this for the glory generation as well as the extra rage when we drop our banners. This node also helps a ton. You can use this on a weapon swap. Um, it gives 15% of the max life to energy shield for your dogs. This will maintain when you weapon swap as well. Yes, okay. Actually, I don't think it does. Well, I guess you learned something. In any case, it's still very useful to have, but I would choose the regen over that if you can. The difference of cost, though, is like this is 40 divine, this is 1 divine. I don't think this stuff is necessary. So let me get to that. So the problem with dogs, though, is that not all dogs are created equal. The wolf pack, though, this is a physical. So this would be affected by like if you had a wand that had like plus to physical or whatever you can get on those. I think that's a modifier. I'm not sure, but a problem is we're using talismans. Um, you you do not get melee levels on these, so these will always be weaker. But you can see they have 10,000 life. So we use Death March with minion instability. This is a big heal for our other dogs. And we use Amannamu's Tithe to get a bit of bonuses from this, and Infernal Legion to set these dogs on fire. Um, Not ideal, but they do tend to blow up in sequence, giving us constant healing to the rest of our dogs, and then they will revive. These dogs full heal on weapon swap, which we will be doing a lot because we want to be placing banners to increase our maximum rage here. And then when we drop our banners here, you can see, well, actually, I have to get charge regulation going to show this. We get our endurance charge. And now our armor is 44,000 with this. We do that. This is super endgame, but we do that through iron reflexes. You'd probably do this around level 90. Iron reflexes down here. You get evasion per armor on your equipped gloves, and you shoot for gloves that have high armor and +2 to melee skills. And when you do that, you focus on evasion on the rings along with resists, armor on the belt if you can get it, and you want to go hybrid on the sacrificial regalia. The charge regulation is not required for this build, but I'm just going with it because it's a huge bonus. You get 6,000 energy shield. You want to shoot for a sacrificial regalia if possible. In the early end game, you'd probably just choose any energy shield with like 400 to 500 energy shield or more. You could go hybrid, uh, but you aren't really going to get armor until you're like level 80, 90, um, just through the gear and everything else. Lord of the Wilds helps us equip a scepter while using a talisman, just on our primary setup here. That's plus 11 levels to the Pounce Wolves, and that's where the bulk of the damage comes from. In terms of the tree, for early leveling and starting off, you want to go down here for projectile damage, projectile skills. We're not going to be able to actually start with Pounce, so you'll use fragmentation rounds with permafrost bolts and just focus on these projectile nodes down here. You'll move along here and get two-handed weapons, and then that's basically your startup. And then in Act 2, you'll eventually get those level 7 skill gems, and then you'll want to transition into Pounce. The primary thing to get here is just to go along this path, and this is all of the damage for the build, basically. Every rage grants 1% minion attack speed, 1% damage. You will want to get over here as well once you get Ferocious Roar, and you need this node on your Warcry setup for Warcries gain 10 minimum power. And you can see my rage when I Warcry. And that was 2 uses of Echoing Cry to get my rage to 75. And then there's one more as well. Echoing Cry, you'll notice I'm hitting the button now, it won't let me use it. You do have to move a certain distance before it will let you. I'm just gonna... I don't want these dogs to explode anymore. One moment. Anyway, so Ferocious Roar. Right. Echoing Cry. So you do have to move a certain distance, like right there, before it will let you use it again. You can pounce and then do it twice. So in this case, we Ferocious Roar, Arctic Howl, pounce. We go again, and what that's going to do is activate this node for critical weakness. This will give it base 10% crit weakness. It'll give us a 10% base crit chance for the wolves, so their base crit will be 15% against like unique bosses. Very useful, and that's also good for teammates in a group as well. War Cries will also debilitate. We get 10% less damage dealt from those enemies. It does not last long, but doesn't necessarily need to. I choose to only socket this on weapon set 1, because usually when I'm placing banners, I'm kind of hovering around the minions. I don't necessarily want to be on the boss unless I need to avoid a certain mechanic. You really only need this when you're gaining rage. So if I can show an example. So here, the rage of the minions, because the rage of the minions, they have their own individual rage, it will go down. It only goes up when you gain rage, so Raging Cry on Arctic Howl will also give us a bit of rage. And then you'll see that value will slowly rise even when my rage isn't moving here. For every time you gain, they gain basically 20 rage over 4 seconds. We get the +8 rage here when we can after grabbing this node. For the commanding rage, we want, from the leveling process, you'd want to go along either this path or this path. Immediately grab Commanding Rage in Act 2 or Act 3, basically Act 2. You want to then move all the way up here and immediately grab this node to give us 2 more Pounce Wolves. And then once Wolfpack is online with Berserk, we want to try to grab this node as well to reduce the reservation cost of the Wolfpack dogs. Taking Lord of the Wilds also is another thing we need. Actually, that's probably the biggest priority. Commanding Rage up here. Actually, Commanding Rage and then either path here. You have to just choose along the leveling path, but Lord of the Wilds, and then here, and then here. Once you get into endgame maps, your energy shield nodes, you have these here. You have this wheel is very good as well for energy shield. This one, and that's all you need for energy shield. The rest comes from the gear. You will want to get energy shield on your amulet. Quality for defense. Armor if you can get it. Global defenses is an essence slam, but you must have the +3 to minion or melee on the amulet here. One of the big problems with the build is using Berserk will drain your maximum life based on your rage. And to offset that, we're using glory generation on the banners with invigorating grandeur. We get 1% max life for every glory consumed. These are 200 glory. And you'll notice when I place a Defiance banner that this comes back really quick. Specifically, this is our primary banner because this gives increased movement speed to the wolves to help them get into the fight quicker. It also increases our maximum armor. We use Duresso's Passion on this banner specifically just to make the glory generation faster. And we use Refraction 3. 40,000 armor is up to 80% exposure. Against Uber Arbiter, this is 50 to 57, I think, exposure on that boss. You can get this higher through aura magnitude and exposure effect. You will want on your banner setup, you get exposure effect here. This is useful for spamming banners. So when these banners expire, you'll get part of the glory cost back. And through Tactician, we're regenerating 5 glory per second. And through all of our glory generation, these banners come back very quickly. These banners aren't even on cooldown, they're still up. So we get all of those bonuses. We want magnified area, expanse, and prolonged duration on all 3 banners. And then Refraction 3 and Duresso's Passion on your Defiance banner. For the other banners, you'll want to get Refraction 2 on at least one of them, and then cooldown reduction because Expanse will apply a base cooldown on the banner itself, and this lets them come back faster. If you're fighting a unique boss or rare that you're stuck on, and if you pounce on them or hit them in any way, you get a ton of glory. That is also boosted by the glory generation, and even without, even just attacking them once will basically ensure that you have your banner up next. If for whatever reason it's on cooldown. I prefer 5 jewels during the leveling process with glory generation. Obviously you won't have this to start. You won't have this to start in endgame mapping. Getting glory generation is the biggest thing on the jewels. Armor is a bonus. I prefer minion life. These dogs have a ton of life, but our resistances mostly come from this node here. this one. So, and this is boosted by aura magnitude. So you see my resistances here. You can basically do this pretty much from the start of mapping. So here I've got 85% fire resistance, and now I have 190% fire resistance. And that's just from the 3 banners. So even in early mapping, you basically don't even need resistances to start mapping reliably, and you will be resist capped as long as you stay under the banners. Um, the dogs, it helps to have at least one, maybe two elemental resistances through like your scepter or through a jewel. I think I have one. I think I have one somewhere, but let's just assume here, like getting something for it. I have one. Here we go. Uh, this is just an endgame choice. I would probably spec out of this if I wanted more damage and go over here towards Black Flame, get this exposure effect, take these nodes to cover down here. But it's completely unnecessary. It's just like maximizing the build at that point. Um, in terms of the flasks, you will want, especially early on, to get life recovery for minions, reduce charges used. This lets you just spam the flask as much as possible. Death March helps tremendously for keeping the dogs alive as well. They do have a lot of life, but you'll notice, especially with like the synth flesh rooms in Atziri Temple is a big one, where they'll just shoot these lightning beams across the screen, and when you enter, it's a bit of an artillery squad just going in there, and they will deal so much damage to these dogs. It's crazy. And right now, I'm sitting at 20,000 life for the Pounce Wolves, and even with the banners up, they will still die. You will have to pounce to get new wolves, which is fine, but it does get a little sketchy in there, especially when the dogs get trapped at the entrance. So you will need to run in. I've got video of that that I will post. But that's basically the build. A big note too is Arctic Howl. While we do not prioritize freeze, this will proc if we have our exposure banner down, along with Lunar Blessing. Just because the normal and magic monsters will basically be minus 100% resistances. This just passively will happen and create a feedback loop where you're just freezing everything, or at least priming them for freeze if they don't just die in 2 hits. It's very helpful, not required, but it is a nice addition. The Arctic Howl still runs the same way with Echoing Cry, Raging Cry, and Enraged War Cry, just like Ferocious Roar. Prolonged duration you want here just to make this last like 26 seconds, I think. And because this scales with your rage, you can get up to 100% increased damage taken as cold for all of your allies in presence. So very useful. You do need 2 unset rings in order to get your charge regulation. This is like super endgame. I would say if you're not running charge regulation, 1 unset ring is fine, but you do need at least 1 because you need all of these skills. The 3 banners, Berserk, Cross Slash, just everything else. For the Scepter, prioritize one that has a purity just to take advantage of the well, this will be a bug that's fixed at some point, but when you place these, it takes from mana instead of taking from spirit. So you can set vitality 2. Herbalism is nice for the life flask. Clarity 2 is just good for the mana regen. You will run out of mana a lot with this build. Pounce is like 500 mana almost. And Upwelling 2. That's just a huge damage boost when you are not on full mana. In terms of the talisman, The only other modifier we care about, besides the +7 to melee, is usually if you can get a stat, it's great. If not, it's fine. But you will need some attributes on gear to compensate for everything else. Keep your banners at level 14. Don't do what I do and get level 15 Dread Banner. All this does is increase the duration. You can work around the spirit cost a little bit, especially on your weapon swap by using Soul Core of Azkappa. These are fairly cheap. I believe they hope not to be proven wrong here. So about 2 divine for 1, but if you compare that to, let's see, this I believe is for scepters. Like this gets much more costly, you can see. The only other thing is for the talisman. If you've hit recently, you get minions deal increased damage. This modifier also works on ring prefixes. It's not required. It's only like 20 to 25%. For that, you get Omen of the Liege to get random Aminamu when you desecrate. Preferably, if it has 3 prefixes, you can guarantee it with one of these. These are not all that expensive. And then Jawbone for rare weapon. For the actually, yeah, I think that's it. Charms, you want to focus on bleed, freeze, and poison. And I like guard for these. It's just nice to have. And yeah, that's basically it. High energy shield on the helmet and glove boots, armor for the gloves, and yeah,